selling cars since '83. I'm busting fools and teaching schools, sharing tools and breaking rules. Who's your daddy? They say it's me, breaking it down for all to see. Keep it simple, keep it clear. The status quo is all I fear.
Hey Hunter, what's going on?
Hey Danny, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for being on the Who's Your Danny show. Like I tell everybody, this is a huge honor for you. I hope that you appreciate it.
It is, thank you.
Hey, listen, Hunter, before we even get started, if you would introduce yourself and tell the audience what you do. You work with Dealer Socket, of course. You're one of the leading experts on CRM and kind of a celebrity. But tell the people out there a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, my name's Hunter Swift, and I'm the Director of Sales Development at Dealer Socket. I've been with Dealer Socket, this is my 11th year. Have pretty much done everything within the company from support, consulting, installs to sales. So during that time, it's really allowed me to, learn about CRM and learn how dealers are using it, best practices, and I just love helping dealers. One of my first jobs out of high school was selling cars, so I was in the trenches, so to say. I worked at a Chrysler, Plymouth, Jeep, Eagle, and Dodge store, and it's pretty much where I got all my experience. And then I was able to parlay that into Dealer Socket, so it's been really good.
So selling Eagles
yes.
was a big turning point for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You didn't have anything to do with the demise of that brand, did you?
No.
Okay, good.
All I have to do is say, I hear people complain because there's a lot of different models out there to choose from, but
Right.
You had a customer that came in and they were looking at a Dodge, Dodge Caravan, a Plymouth Voyager, and a Chrysler Town and Country, and all the different models between. It was hard. So,
Can you remember one of the Eagle lines? The Eagle Summit. What was another Eagle? They had that funky looking wagon. Oh, the Talon was kind of cool.
Yeah, we sold a lot of those.
That was a Mitsubishi Eclipse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for telling us about your experience.
And that was back in a time before CRM. So, I had a Rolodex. I think I was trained to use a Rolodex, and I had, business cards with a rubber band around it that had all of my, customer information on it, which was great until my mom washed my pants one day and I lost all my leads. So I know firsthand, what it's like to use, or sell cars without a CRM, and I know what it's like to sell cars with CRM, and big difference.
Oh, it's a lot easier. And there really was a CRM. It's just kind of the old school CRM. It's all about just keeping those records together and understanding your people. But you're right. I'm kind of glad we've ventured into the internet age and the technology age. So we're going to get right into we're going to get into CRM. We're going to get into a lot of that fun stuff. But first, tell me about a couple of your hobbies. I know them, but I want everybody to know about them. I want to hear a little bit about your cars and your photography.
Okay. Well, perfect. Well, I love cars. I love going fast. I love modifying cars. Currently have a 2014 Cadillac CTS-V that's fun to drive, all modded. But probably the last year or so, I've gotten really into car photography. It started just taking pictures of my own car, and ended up starting taking pictures of other people's cars. And now it's actually a hobby I do on the side and actually get paid for. And so it's kind of nice. I work with dealers. My hobby's about cars, and I like taking pictures with cars. So I'm just a car guy just through and through, and love being part of the industry. I think it's one of the greatest industries that we can work for, and I love helping dealers. And especially with CRM and stuff, not only are we helping dealers sell more cars, but we're helping the customer have a better experience. So I love it.
Well, good. That's cool. I to this day have not seen in person your hot rod, but I understand now that you've kind of gone through that cycle. Now you're maybe going for the new body style. So if anybody's listening and you're in the market for a custom hot rod CTS-V, Hunter Swift is the guy to call. Yeah. And I can't wait to see some pictures of what you do next. I enjoy your stuff on social media, Twitter. The pictures are unbelievable. So it's a lot of fun. And, we do a lot of stuff day to day in this business, but it's fun to see people branching out. And it's still loosely related. It's still it's about cars.
Well, the thing is for a lot of people, the car means a lot to them. It's part of their identity. They have a lot of experiences in it. It's almost as important as the dinner table, right, with the family. And, if we can tie into that kind of emotional connection more with our customers, it's only going to help us. This is one of the biggest decisions that most people do, and they get to do it a couple times in their lifetime, and it's just great to be part of it. So
good. Well, let's just jump right into connecting with customers. It's a perfect segue into CRM, and you're obviously one of the industry's leading CRM experts. I don't think that's I don't think that's of any question. But when you're talking about as a vendor, what drives you nuts about the way dealerships underutilize the CRM? Maybe give us a couple of examples, because I know we're guilty of it, but what just kind of drives you crazy when you see dealers underutilizing it?
Well, like kind of how I mentioned when, a while back I was selling cars without a CRM, and there are still people who started selling cars back then, and they still think that they can sell cars without a CRM, and you probably can. But the idea of the CRM is really just to help it, make it more useful. And in that example that I gave you, that my leads were washed, well, if they were in a CRM, they wouldn't have gotten lost, or I would never have forgotten about certain things. And so I think, there's still some people that are kind of slow to embrace that it's a mandatory thing. But the other thing that kind of really bugs me is, as I go to different shows, is how much dealers are focused on driving new traffic to their stores. I was just at a trade show. I mean, almost half the vendors there were either advertising companies, marketing companies, or lead providers, all there to try to drive, leads to the dealership. Dealers spending $20 to $50 for a lead. They don't even have exclusivity on it. And, I think we've got to the point that the dealership doesn't need any more customers. They have enough customers. The problem is they're all sitting in the CRM and no one's ever doing anything with it. And when we wait for the customer to submit a lead, we're already competing against another dealer. It's a low gross deal. I've heard podcasts and different speakers at trade show discuss should you give price, should you not give price? Well, the issue is it's already at that point where the only way that you're going to win the customer is to lower the price, and the dealership doesn't want to lower price. So not only are you not making any money on it, but it's actually affecting the CSI. And so if you focus, and this bugs me because dealers for some reason haven't been able to make this adjustment, is instead of being reactive, it's about being proactive, looking at your data, creating these data mining campaigns and trying to find specific customers and proactively reaching out to those customers. We know what vehicle they own, we know how much miles that they're on, what their trade-in value is, we know what bank programs they qualify for, any manufacturer incentives, we know their equity, their bank payment. We have all this data, and then we can create this perfect deal, reach out to the customer, and the customer is surprised that you're even reaching out to them, and you have a high CSI customer, you have a high gross customer, and it's your data. They already know where you are. I mean, the customer's done something with you. So that's probably my biggest kind of thing that bugs me, is that they're kind of sitting on this huge opportunity, and they're just not utilizing it to their potential.
Yeah.
And it's just going to require some change, because majority of the people, they're still standing on the corner of the dealership waiting for that next up or that next lead to come in. And it's going to take some time of actually getting into the tool and saying, okay, where can I find that next customer? So that's one thing, that kind of bugs me.
Let's stay there. We're going to go back to another thing that bugs you, but I want to stay on that train of thought for a second, because explain, if you don't mind, to the listeners, when I talk about a life cycle, when we need to understand the life cycle of a customer, what you're telling me is it's much more expensive, much more cumbersome, and much less effective to go try to conquest and pull people to your dealership when the people that are already doing business with you, that's just a lot easier to sell. And that's not revolutionary, but it's just like anything else when it comes to training. We know these things, and the data backs it up 100%. But for some reason, we turn a blind eye to it. And so we spend all of our time, like you said, on these lead providers, or going out and bringing in these new customers. And then maybe on the back burner, we're going to have this equity mining. We're going to do that too. And what you're saying is it should be reversed.
Exactly.
And I saw something that was pretty interesting. Retention's near and dear to my heart as well. I just recently did a workshop called Retention Deficit Disorder. But it was saying that a conquested customer or a new customer will close anywhere from about 5 to 20%. But a customer that you have done business with, or that you are bringing in, that is, they're you're inside their life cycle, closes at 60% plus. Yeah. And in addition to that, a 2 or 3% increase in retention can be the same as reducing your overall expenditures by up to 10%. Tell me Tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, our data shows the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's why, to me, it's kind of like a no-brainer, but yet, they're still focusing on this. I mean, look at just the information that you get on a lead. You're lucky if there's even a phone number on it.
Right.
But I've got all the data in the CRM. And the other thing is, even if this customer has experienced, my dealership and maybe we didn't sell them a car, or maybe they didn't even have a great experience, but if I proactively reach out to them and try to repair that or try to sell why they should do business with me, you're going to earn that customer, and they're actually going to be a better customer than just if they had just submitted a lead.
Right.
And so, and I think a lot of times too is even with relationships. I mean, we feel like sometimes we have this great relationship with a customer, and then maybe they don't buy from us, and we forget sometimes is maybe they just didn't buy for us because of the price or maybe the color of the vehicle, but we had a great relationship with that customer.
Right.
And so a lot of times we just move them to lost and we never talk to them again. But if we continue to build on that relationship, the data shows that, a lot of people buy more than one vehicle in their household. You got kids that are turning 16, 17, 18 that need cars. You got friends and referrals. These are still people who had nothing other than great to say to you about you,
mm-hmm.
but ended up buying it, somewhere else.
Right.
And that's not even counting about service.
Right.
I found out they bought a deal, the car down the street. Well, I can still service that vehicle. And so, you really have to realize that once they become your customers, and that means that they either visited the store, submitted a lead, or called, that's your customer, and you have the opportunity to continue to market for sales and service and for additional vehicles. Right. So it's not just a one and done, try to sell a lead, and if I don't, then I forget about it. And unfortunately, a lot of dealers, that they do that with their customers.
Right. Okay, that's terrific. Now let's think of another thing that you think maybe dealerships are missing the boat on, and let's gear towards management, maybe sales managers or some kind of supervisory capacity. What are some things that people are missing with CRMs?
Yeah, well, one, we kind of talked about just use, right? The lowest denominator is the salespeople, right? They're the ones that are often the ones that don't use the CRM. They're not inputting the customer. They're not putting correct data in. And a lot of that comes because of the sales managers. The sales manager is not involved. He's not making sure that things are getting done. And so the day-to-day kind of life of a sales manager in a CRM should be kind of on top of making sure that what they see is actually getting put into the CRM. So if I see a sales rep taken up, well, I should just double check and make sure that up actually got put into the system. I need to look at their kind of daily work plans and see what their expectations are during the day. So if I look in their work plan and they only have 2 calls for the day and maybe an appointment, well, it tells me that they probably need to do a little bit more prospecting and generating and filling up that pipeline.
Right.
If I see a guy that just has too much stuff to do, well, maybe he's not completing his to-dos and he has a lot of overflow from the day before. And so you got to make sure that kind of is being under control. The other thing is with the campaigns with the CRM, you have these multiple steps, right? 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. And the reason that most CRMs have these certain frequency is because of the efficiency. And if you're not calling somebody back when you're supposed to, well, obviously the efficiency goes down. And a perfect example is a happy birthday call. Most CRMs and dealerships are calling on that. But if that to-do is kind of in between a whole bunch of to-dos and gets missed, and you call no one's going to call the next day and wish them a happy birthday. And so you just want to make sure that they're always on top of their to-dos and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. Now, most CRMs have some type of call tracking where if the salesperson is just marking completed on all the to-dos, that you actually have a way to look at the phone and making sure that it's actually happening. I also encourage, if your state permits, that you record and listen to the calls. Now, you might not have the ability to listen to every call, but you want to be able to go back and just make sure that that they're doing what they're supposed to. I mean, this is a person that's kind of a brand advocate for your store, and so if they're not answering the call the way they're supposed to or offering the service that you're expecting, the only way you're going to know is if you listen to the calls. There are other companies, too, that will record and critique. I highly suggest those as well, because for the most time, the sales manager doesn't have the opportunity to listen to every call.
Right.
But if you have a service that can record, transcribe, and score, I think that's great, just for quality assurance as well as training. And then the last would be some type of checkout report, so that at the end of the day, the managers can have a little interview or a little checkout and just say, hey, what did you do? Did you do everything? Did all of your ups get in the system? Did you make all your calls? And there are going to be times where they have to leave early, they got busy, and they weren't going to ever do it. But if the manager knows that and they're checking them out every day, then you know that it's not a trend and they're not, not doing what they're supposed to. So that's kind of one thing I would look at, as well as the reports. I think a lot of times we look at these reports just from a high level, but
Right.
look at all the way down to the salesperson and try to use the data to leverage that as a coaching opportunity. So if you see a guy that's maybe getting a lot of ups and a lot of demos, but he's not getting a lot of write-ups, well, maybe there's a coaching opportunity where he has to turn customers or introduce them to another seasoned sales rep or even the manager before that customer leaves. So that actually allows the sales manager to look like the expert, and then looking at the data and saying, okay, well, when we have our morning meetings or our weekly meetings, like what are we going to talk about? And if the dealers can, the sales managers can look at data and say, this is a particular issue, this is what we're going to talk about, now let's go out and do it, then the next week they can look at the data and see if that improved it. So not are they just managing and selling deals, but they're actually managers and coaching, the salespeople.
Well, so to kind of recap, well, I think in the mornings, with CRMs at our store, in the morning we want to see what is planned and what they're going to do. Make sure they have their day filled up, that they're executing the right plan from the morning. And we coach to climb inside the CRM after your cup of coffee and stay in it until you leave. And we're in an industry, and we're at a time in our industry where you have to stay inside the CRM. You have to depend on it. But starting them out and making sure that their day's planned properly, and then holding them accountable throughout the day. And there's no better time to attack a missed task or a mishandled phone call if you're listening to them than immediately. And you can't do that if you're not staying on top of it. Then at the end of the day, you take what you planned, what they accomplished, holding them accountable, having them check out at the end of the night. And we use your product, and we have the ability to customize that checkout sheet the way we want. We can put different things in, so it's really nice to be able to do that. And that's something we can always get better at that. And we do have people that have tasks that stack up, and sometimes we do get lax. But for the people listening, that's really great advice, especially from a sales manager standpoint. Things they can do throughout the day. And if you want to know more things like that, we'll give you some opportunities here at the end to contact Hunter, and again, he helps dealers all the time. Let's step into this. Let's look at, we know what CRMs are now, and we do know that we're underutilizing them. And only 98% of dealerships underutilize their CRM. But what are some new technologies we can underutilize in the future? So where are CRMs going? What's the next thing? I mean, give me a couple years down the road, what are we going to start seeing?
Well, perfect. Well, surprisingly, there's still a lot of dealers that are about 10 years behind us. I mean, just look at some of our DMSs out there that still look like a DOS program, and they're still using server-based CRM. So for some, the future is a web-based CRM. It's mobile technology, being able to kind of up a customer anywhere. I think as we grow in the next couple of years, I think we're starting to see this. Is for a long time, the DMS has been kind of the hub where everything kind of happens in and around the DMS. I think now it's more around the CRM. I mean, every single touch point that the dealership has with a customer should some way or another be connected to the CRM. It's customer-centric. It's thinking about the customer life cycle. Some things that you're going to see in the future is more in regards to data. You're going to be able to see people marketing to customers specifically based off that data, even catering the experience, the user experience based off the data. One example of something that we've currently worked on with our recent acquisition of the DealerFire website is something called Crossfire, which is a better integration between website and CRM, to where there's kind of a customer profile that is created for that customer, and we were able to track kind of behavior and then change the way that we market to a customer or even interact with the CRM based off that data. Perfect example, let's say a lead comes in and, because of inactivity, you move it to lost. Well, if that customer is on our website, it should re-trigger that activity or create a to-do that says, hey, this customer is actually not lost, right? He's on your website. Or if maybe they're on your website and they haven't submitted a lead, but they're kind of always going back to a particular vehicle, well, that information should get carried over to the CRM, and then when I do my bulk email or some type of marketing to them, I should be sending whatever vehicle they're interested in to that customer versus always sending out that generic thing. So I think we're going to get a little bit more specific in using data to kind of give a more of a customer experience. Even when I think back on the website, almost every web or email that we send out has a link to our website. And if I go back to my earlier point about always trying to drive traffic, the website's designed to drive new traffic. That's why we have internet specials and web pricing.
Right.
So when you go to send an email to your most loyal customer, why do we have the link at the bottom of the page sending them back to that page?
Right.
We should be sending them to a page that only he accessed, that talks about how great he is and how loyal he is and how much we appreciate him. And if we talk about like referrals, surveys and things like that, well, we should be surveying those customers, right? So you can do that now with some of the data, and I think as we move forward, it's just going to continue and get better. And then the last thing is really, I think dealers are kind of tired of the like DMS integration fees, having their data, not being in control of their data. I think hopefully we'll see a shift on that, and all the data already exists in the CRM, so I think that will change. And then as that changes, I think you're going to see more kind of maybe a one platform tool for dealers, so that it's already getting to where sales, service, data mining, desking, website, and inventory is kind of all on one platform. And so now I think you're going to see maybe additional products that are going to fit in there, because the customer doesn't really need to have different experiences every time they interact with your dealership because of a different software for different providers. So I think just streamlining that. And then the last thing I'd say has to do with millennials. Millennials use apps for everything. And when I talked about earlier about how you could sell a car without using a CRM, that is impossible for them. And so I hope as these millennials and younger people come into our industry, they're going to be more reliant on this technology. They're going to embrace it more, and they're going to really look at how they can use the technology to have better experiences and sell more cars. So
right, wow. I'll tell you the technology. I'm no technological guru here, but for the life of me, to your second point, I can't figure out why a CRM and a DMS has been two different products for so long. Well, I think I can probably guess part of the reason. I mean, it's money and acquisitions and all these other things. But have you ever gone and seen like maybe a really old house or even a mobile home, and they just keep adding wings to it, and the front of it looks okay, but you realize that it started out as a mobile home, or it started out as a shack, and they just continue to build around it. Sometimes the CRMs and DMS and some of the service applications, that's what it seems like. It's this company bought this company, so we just kind of glued them together. And then we call it seamless integration, and nothing against your company or anyone else that acquires companies right and left. But rather that it takes time and research, I understand that. But, why we have a CRM and it goes to the DMS pushes here, everything. And the website's another issue that you guys are attacking. And I think we're moving that way. But, in the age where we're carrying around this information in our pocket and the incredible things that we have through some of the technology you talked about, through beacons and geofencing and all these crazy things that are going on, you would think we would have that by now. But basically, it's encouraging to hear you say we're moving that direction.
Absolutely. And if you just looked at the acquisitions that DealerSocket has made recently, right? Website, some inventory pieces, some independent DMSs, and we got a couple other things in the work. The whole goal for us is not to be like some of the other companies that have done what you said and bought all these companies and never improved that integration. And that's one thing that we definitely want to help, that we feel that the dealer deserves.
Sure. And once again, this show is this isn't about a certain company or anything. He's with DealerSocket. DealerSocket's a great product. There's a lot of good products. There's a lot of good DMSs out there. But in general, I think this is an important thing for me as a dealer. It's frustrating for us too. We talk about the things that kind of frustrate you when you look at dealerships, and these are some of the things that frustrate us as dealers. We have access to all these reports, all this data, all these things, and all these integrations. But sometimes, we want it simple too. We need to focus on selling cars, and DealerSocket, along with other leading companies, are really helping us do that. So it's kind of exciting. Hunter, man, we've run out of time. You're awesome. Hunter, you're a super great friend. I really appreciate just the things you do for our industry, and that's something that I'm trying to keep a recurring theme here is people that reach out and do things past their brand to help people and help further the industry and change kind of the way that we're perceived. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Would you please tell the people how they can get a hold of you, whether it be Twitter, whatever?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So if you want to send me an email, it's just hswift@dealersocket.com. My cell phone is 949-351-3036, and I'm at Hunter Swift on Twitter and Instagram. So
awesome. Well, I'm telling you, you can get great information about CRMs, great information about CTSV Cadillacs, You seem to know a lot about things with initials.
Yeah.
But I wish you the very, very best. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, man.
All right, man. Boop. Perfect. Man, that's going to be that's going to be great.
This thing right here is for the IS-20G. And this thing right here is by my man Danny B. What they call you?
Who's your Danny? They say it's me. Been doing cars since '83. I'm busting fools and teaching schools, sharing tools and breaking rules. Who's your Danny? They say it's me. Breaking it down for all to see. Keep it simple, keep it clear. The status quo is all I fear.